Welcome back to a new episode of our Unleashed podcast. Today I'm here with Marte Eirin Solhaug, world champion in both combined and pulka. Welcome.
Thank you.
And today's topic is how to teach your dog to pull.
You're listening to Unleashed by Nonstop Dogwear.
So my first question would actually be, how did you get into sled dog sports?
We always had dogs in the family. From I was very young, we had this German pointers. So I started from skiing with them since I was able to go skiing. But I haven't been doing it like professional before like 6 years ago. Then I quit kayaking and I bought my first dog, Sepp, for this purpose.
And Sepp is also a German short-haired pointer, GSP?
Yes, he's a GSP. And he is from Telma, which I also borrowed from a friend that I started racing with also before that again. Yes.
So Sepp then was like a real turning point, and from there on you didn't kayak anymore, so you started with sled dog sports a bit more like competitively and more professionally.
Yes, that was when I started to train more for competitions, but I also joined in some competition some years before that as well.
So was Sepp like a natural talent, or did you have to do something to teach him to pull, or how did it start this journey with him?
I was always hoping for him to be like Telma, and he turned out exactly like her, just in the male version. He's very hardworking, but also a very fast learner. So it was very important to do the right things, because what you did with him just stayed there. So everything he learned from young age, he has just kept. It's very hard to turn it around again.
Yes.
So it was really important to do it the right in the first place.
Because I see it with like many dogs, even though they do have this drive to pull in the first place, it's very, very important to like keep it a positive experience for them, so that you like strengthen this positive thoughts and experience about pulling. So now you have several dogs actually, and all of them are doing amazing. How do you start with them? When do you start with teaching them to pull?
Like the training and the habits building, and that starts from a very young age. They come with us on sessions, like short sessions in the beginning. I think it's important to keep it short and fun, and also make sure they have enough overskud.
Yeah, like they have. When you finish the training, they still have like extra energy left.
Yes.
It's not that you finished when they were like completely
Yeah,
done.
they should like think it's fun, and also before training, they shouldn't be exhausted before you start. It should be like they should go in the training with a lot of energy and just happy. Yeah.
When you were bringing them for these first sessions when they were young, did you start with pulling, or were they just along free running while the more experienced older dogs were pulling?
In the beginning, it's mostly free running and mostly alone, so they get to choose their speed and running in the woods to build important muscles. But when they start with pulling, I like to bring them with the older dogs, because they are experienced and they see what they should do. And also they are not allowed to play and with the older dogs. That's important. That they stay focused.
Yes. You mentioned a little bit, for example, that they need a lot of energy when you start a training, like they should be like in shape and eager to do. Yes. Also that you stop before they get tired. Are there any other things you do to ensure that they have like a positive experience while pulling?
It's important to make sure you bring them with dogs that you are comfortable around, like because young dogs and puppies take a lot from the older dogs. So you should make sure that the older dogs you bring the puppies with is a good example.
Yes.
So they can take after, like for example, barking and stakeout is also very something they can take after.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if another dog is stressing in the car, they will they don't understand in the beginning of the situation. So they just like, okay, now we have to be stressed. That's what they learn.
They copy a lot. So to have this older dog that you are, like for example, Sepp, I have both his sons. Then when I bring them with him, they are copying him, which is something I like.
So like role models are super important, but sometimes you also go and train with probably other dogs, maybe dogs you don't know.
Yes.
Is there something you have to pay attention there?
Absolutely. You should be quite certain about the other dogs you're going with, that something will not happen, because one bad experience can be really hard to cover up. Then you need a lot of good experience to change that.
Yes.
So that's something you should think about, that if you're going to a training with others, make sure it's just nice dogs that won't hurt the dog or have some other bad qualities you don't want.
Yes.
Yes.
You talked about like, okay, when they are young, you start with short sessions, but I think for many of our listeners, short is a very like vague. You don't necessarily, something that is short for you, maybe it's not short for me.
Yeah.
What does like these short distances mean?
It depends a bit on what you're doing. For example, if you're going free running with only the puppy in the woods, you can go longer because they are they're making their own speed. But if you bring them with the older dogs, for example, for a short ski, that can be only 15 minutes, 20 minutes, just like to get a routine and to learn what they're going to do.
Yeah. I think that is something very good that you mentioned, because puppies love to copy the older dogs. They really look up to them, but they also love to like chase them, and they will chase them to the end of the world.
Yeah.
So you really have to be careful to not like push their limits and like go over what they actually are able to handle at the moment, because they don't think, they just like chase.
Yeah, they will chase them and they run much harder with them. So you have to not do that too often. But sometimes it's good for just to learn the focus. And mostly I'm doing when I have a puppy, I go out with the big dogs before or after the puppy. So it gets one trip alone. And maybe also with a little bit tired older dogs.
Yes.
So you can bring one of them when they have been running a bit before.
And they are a bit calmer.
Yeah, they are a little bit calmer, so it's better.
Is there a specific, not sport, but like when you start pulling with the dog, is there a specific type of training you like to start with? Like, do you like to start on skis or on bike or running? Like, what is your preferred not activity, but like the type of
I think both canicross is very good, because you have free hands, so you can steer the dog and also have a bit more control than in the biking.
Yes.
Also, if you are a good skier, it's also nice to do it with skiing, because you also have free hands to make sure that it doesn't go to some other skiers or dogs. And distance
is also, I guess, you do use the 2.8 meter bungee while skiing, but the distance is a bit like less compared to when you're standing on a bike or a scooter.
Yeah, and you have no chance to steer with your hands. You have only the brakes.
When I see people start with the puppies, I feel it's very important with praising, but sometimes maybe people talk too much. What is your take on this? Like, how much do you talk with your dogs when you're out training with them?
Not too much. Sometimes I'm cheering a little bit on them, like good or left or right, and they get also in races they can get excited if you just say right and with a bit light tone. And so it's basically left, right, go, and pass.
Yes.
And you can say like good or but don't stress them too much, because if they're doing their best, it's better to not push more.
Yeah. Do you have some sort of reward you maybe give to the dogs, like after they are done pulling, or?
I haven't I don't bring a toy or something, but some people do that, and that can be a nice reward. But I'm praising a lot when I'm finished with the session and they get some meat soup or some restitution. And yes, that's...
Did you ever face any difficulty with any of your dogs when you were like teaching them to pull?
If I have to point on one thing, it's like they mostly want to run on the left side. I think it's just what every dog basically wants. So that's something I had to learn everyone, because they all wanted to go to the left.
How did you teach them to?
I make sure that they are fully like stable. Like you shouldn't be thinking about it when you are doing it, teaching them to pull. You should wait till they are like really stable on it. And then I always start on the right side and make sure to not drive past them when they are loose, also on the right side, because then they are going to the left because it's safer. So always make sure, maybe go on the left when you're going out. So, and just stopping actually. If they are going to the left, and just stopping and make sure they go back.
That was actually something very cool that you said, that you don't have to start with everything. Like when you start teaching to pull, you don't have to then immediately also teach directions, which side to go.
No.
So it's probably like the easiest to keep it simple and only focus on one thing at a time.
Yes, don't go too fast forward, because then they can get uncertain, like, oh, I did something wrong, and they're not sure about what they did wrong. So they should be totally safe in the pulling and just low pulling. That should be the main focus in the beginning. And after, when they are completely safe for pulling, then you can start thinking about right and left and running to the right side. And
you can also like teach this probably like a bit outside when you're walking with them or running with them. But when you start with pulling, then you only focus on the pulling part.
Only the happiness of pulling and wanting to go.
Yeah. You also have a whippet in the family.
Yes.
And she runs... I'm not saying she runs as good as like or as fast as the GSPs, but it sure looks like it. She keeps the tempo there.
She is really fast.
How did you start with her? Like, she is not a typical pulling dog that you see all the time.
No, whippets are made for chasing. So she needs to have something to chase or to compete against one of the GSPs. And she loves speed. So I just combine speed and chasing and attach her to the leash, and then she just goes. Yeah.
So then it's very important to find the correct motivations for the dog.
Yes, some dogs like slower speed, and whippets and greyhounds, and these dogs like really fast speed. So she won't pull if it's like a steep hill and it goes slow, then she loses the focus.
Yeah.
But when it's fast conditions and downhill, and then she loves it.
Is there anything one could do to, like, for example, work on this, that she could work a bit better on the uphill and pull there as well?
Maybe if you start the session in the uphill when she's really eager, and you start with the other dogs as well, because alone she gets really demotivated, then she doesn't pull so much. But that's the breed, and I think it's really hard to change. Some dogs have this more working alone gene than
I completely agree. I think it is like great, and you can do a lot with dogs, like teaching them to pull and like really work with it. But at the end of the day, you really have to take into consideration what is it that your dog enjoys.
Yes.
And Whippet loves the speed and to chase. So I think it's very cool that you can give that to her, and she looks super happy.
She loves it. So she gets to join on the bit shorter sessions, not the longest. But sometimes she can also go for longer, but she enjoys more the short and fast ones.
Are there any common mistakes that you see other people do with their young dogs when they are like starting to teach them to pull?
Maybe like what we were talking about, going too fast forward. You should give your dog time and do it step by step. and not thinking about, oh, he misses like going on the right or left, right. Don't think about that. Just think about the pulling part and take one step at a time and don't go too far.
Yes. When you start with them, you said like you're doing like 15-minute sessions. How often do you do this in a week? Like circa?
It depends a little bit about the condition. You should be also take the consideration. Like in the winter, it can be icy, for example, and if it's really nice conditions, you can use the nice conditions and go out more often. But keep it short, and you should also keep it like on a regular basis, so they get this routine to like, okay, I'm getting this session to take up my energy, and then they're also getting calmer inside because they have a lot of energy in the beginning.
Absolutely.
Yes, so be enough out and don't be scared to bring them out, but be careful with other dogs. Yes.
But in the beginning, if I understand correctly, you definitely don't use pulling to tire them out. It's like you build a routine, you like teach them, but you don't do it until they get tired.
No, it's very important to stop before they are too tired, because then they will take down the speed, and you want them to give all.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
I also, this with the weather conditions, I think it's so important because just like tiny things, it's a very young dog, not too like sure about pulling yet. It's icy, might hurt the paws. They can really connect those two and like, oh no, it was like not so fun to pull because it hurt my paws. So it's so many things that one has to keep in mind.
It's so much to keep in mind, and it's very important to keep in mind that one mistake can ruin a lot. So be careful, and if you are uncertain about the condition one day, just don't go.
Better to be safe than sorry.
Yes, better to be safe than sorry.
If one, because I would guess that many of our listeners maybe already tried to teach their dog to pull and might have made some mistakes. If they have already made some mistakes, what would you do then? How would you go from there?
I think it's very important to make sure that the next ones will be good experiences, and just give the dog time. Start from scratch. Don't expect anything. Just think, okay, we will start from scratch, and I will not push it. Because once you start pushing it, they will get more uncertain.
Yes. So you would also then like praise them when they are doing good, but you wouldn't like push them to like do more and more and more, like probably like stop when the game is still good.
So if you, for example, have the challenge with passing, make sure you go with dogs that you are very certain about, and when you have some good experience, just stop there and build it from with tiny steps.
Yes. I think you can also use other dogs so well, because many people focus a lot on like, you have one dog and the other dog is passing. But what we do a lot with our young dogs, for example, is we have a third dog that is in front. So the young dog is not even looking at the one that they are passing. They got the command. We praise them when they go past. But since they have another dog to follow, it makes everything easier.
Yeah, if you have the possibility of that, it's really nice, because then you get the passing training without the puppy to stop when they pass the other dog, because they want to go to the other dog in front.
In the beginning, do you ever train them alone, or do you always take them with one of your experienced dogs?
I take them alone as well, but make sure if you're going to attach them for pulling, make sure to do it in the beginning of the session when they have a lot of energy, and maybe just a short. It's also important to build their confidence alone, not only bring them with the older dogs.
Yes, absolutely.
But you have to make sure that they know what to do, and it's they know that, okay, we're going forward. Some dogs can start playing with a leash and stuff. Then it's too soon. So wait for them to be.
Then you would rather just like, okay, then this is not the time to do it. And instead of like trying to come over here and there and like fight with the problem, it's maybe better to wait when you can ensure that they will succeed. If you could have like one tip for our listeners about like teaching their dog to pull, what would it be? Like your number one tip?
I think my number one would be just to have a lot of fun. Make sure the sessions are fun and you both enjoy it. Then it will you will have success, I think. Yes.
Thank you so much for your tips, Marte. I think we got a lot of useful information, and I hope that our listeners now got some more motivation to teach their dog to pull. Thank you.
I hope so. Thank you for having me.